Celebrate good times, everybody. The witch is gone. The wicked witch of the Middle East is dead. Khamenei and his regime have been dissolved. What a time to be alive. Wow. And would you think that, like, 5, 10 years ago, like, these people wouldn't shut up about their pride, about their willingness to conquer the world? And I always wonder to myself, like, if you had what you wanted, would you really have what you want? You know, like, if you were on that side and they won, would you really suppress and oppress the people for the sake of ugly people and, like, people who share in your religion? And then everybody's like, fucking ugly and shit, and you're stuck with it. The only time you ever have, like, an attractive person is if, like, you kidnap them. Like, you see other people, they have attractive people. So I'm happy to have been. Well, I hesitated, but then now all the reports are coming in that he's gone, he's dead. The world can sleep easier knowing that this guy is fucking dead, gone, and his like family is next. You see, the problem is, like, people don't understand that, like, the bloodline of evil is transferable, and even though you have, like, kids who don't want to carry on the mantle of their parents, like a lot of them do. So what do you do with the ones that, won't stop? Well, you have to eliminate them. You have to get rid of them. You have to exterminate them. You have to finish the job. And this is going to be like pulling out hairs, if you will, metaphorically speaking. Apologies. I do tend to speak a lot on metaphors. And I tend to, like, get a little full of myself. Initially, I made a video and I was trying to, like, punk Insult TV. I made a 27-minute long video. I'm like, nah, fuck that. I don't want to do it. So I just made it like 23, shaved off like 4 minutes. Because we gotta get into it. The whole time, all these YouTubers, right? Like, I'm just looking at the Hassan, like, left-wingish, retard crew, right? Or if you want to go on, like, the more crazy aspects, what was his name? Bad Empanada. And they're still going after Ethan Klein for some reason. Like, for years, too. Like, and you'd think that they'd stop in light of Ethan suing them and shit. No. They're, like, gung-ho about, this whole cause that they ultimately failed upon. And, like, there's no refugee crisis, there's no poverty crisis, there's no necessity to help these people, because now that you've seen in light of the situation, their living standards and what they've done to each other and themselves subsequently, it's hard to help them, it's hard to sympathize. And then Hassan, like, basically using them, knowing that, like, they're like a mouthpiece not only for Al Jazeera, but, like, the Muslim Brotherhood and all these things that are getting banned from all these different countries and shit. It's kind of funny how you have both people on the left and on the right getting just straight up banned for their bullshit practices. Because it's like, I don't consider Andrew Tate or Sneeko or any of that shit. I don't consider them right wing. They most likely do consider themselves that because they're just that fucking, ass backwards. And I still think it's funny how, like, even though you could argue that making a video about, like, clavicle for like 27 minutes is excessive, like, just the idea of Andrew Tate reaching out to clavicle also seems that way. Like, the guy lost the fight, like, in the most humiliating way, like, possible. Like, all that kickboxing, all that training knowledge just obsolete, like, completely bullshit. It's actually baffling how bad of a fighter he is. And even if you can argue that, yeah, he threw the fight on purpose and you can't prove it, And everything's just fucking gutter. And so is his followers, the people who have his back, people who are like, talking like, I want to be like him. They gotta hold that out forever. We're talking about like generational levels of this race. And that's why we celebrate their demise, because look, like the idea that they are to have children is it's comical at best, but it's also like a reason for concern. You just don't want to have your kids around their kids, right? Like they're just stupid people raised by stupid people, you know. I mean, the off chance that like there's some like special child prodigy or like gifted whatever, like they have stupid parents. Like, what are you gonna do, right? Like a lot of these times that like these adults, air quotes, like whisper into the kid's ear, yo, you want to get a sex change, you're not your right gender or something like that. Now they're like straight up banning this shit. Like people have had enough. Like the destruction, whether it's softball or like more like in the case of Hassan, 10 toes down, more visible. How's that going for you, fucking idiot? How's your fucking the freedom of all these fucking retards who want to rape up girls and shit and do all these fucked up things? And you can argue, yeah, some of these people who like you're fighting against on the OTK, like Lakari, and I think like Lakari came back for some reason. I gotta check up on. I gotta do a follow-up video on that shit. But you just hate it when like you make yourself this self-proclaimed person, this personality, and you always gotta like But I'm gonna enjoy this one because think about it like this: like the loss of Iran and the Ayatollah, like these people are going to be fleeing into the corners of like the world like cockroaches. They're gonna see the world with like the decay, the evil. Wait, why is Saudi Arabia entering the war? Aren't they on the American side? Like, aren't they going to die if they try to do anything? That's what Talaran is saying. I'll watch that video later. But, like, the most important thing about today is to really consider the validity of life when it comes from these people. Like, when I say that, I obviously mean, like, there is no validity, there is no reason that they should continue onwards. Their civilizations and subsequently religions and cultures have been an abundant failure, a cancer upon us, if you will. State-sponsored terrorism, all these, things now. Russia's like talking about like, trying to like get America to back down. It's like, dog, we lost. It sucks that like, we can't deal with like the whole Tetsuka problem in Ukraine and the whole Azov brigade, like genociding the Russian people off. Because it's like sad to say that like not all white people are alike, right? Because to me, I look at a Ukrainian, I look at a Russian. Yeah, you could argue at some level there's like a bit of a difference. Like if you know what to look for, or like you're ethnically part of one of those groups in specificity, or both, because whatever, right? Um, but like just to see like the idea of like these Ukrainians just like killing off these Russians because it's just like they hate them that much, trying to replace their language, trying to like conscript these young ass guys into war and shit, and like dragging them and shit by car. You see all these old ass guys just like you know basically doing street level kidnapping. It's like it's modern day like a death march, if you will. It reminds me a lot of that movie where people are just trying to like walk for like X amount of time, and if they stop walking, they get shot, and it's just like this weird movie about this like post I don't know like dystopian future era America alternate history where they had this like contest called the March. And it's a lot like this thing with like Ukraine and like the people who are living there. And it always takes me back to that one commercial of the Azov Brigade. They're all in a nail salon. They're getting their nails done, and she's just like, what are you guys doing for the summertime? And then like this girl just like randomly says, well, I'm just gonna go to Italy, Venice, and like check out the place. And, like everyone's just like, no, you can't leave. You can't leave because of the war. And it's like, well, I'm part of the Azov Brigade. And then you see like this like like logo of the Azov Brigade just pop up, and it's just like da 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 da. Like that kind of level of like RoboCop dehumanization. You know what I mean? Like the shit that you thought was just like funny because you saw it in a movie. And you're like, yeah, the world will never be like that, except it is. Just like not in English speaking land. Because of like the whole nuance of like you know empathy and language and like how if America were to do something like that, they would dress it up to make it look maybe not so like obvious, but like one of those PSA commercials that they do in America, and then like they censor it, and then in Canada we uncensor it. So it's just like, yo, we have the cure for headaches. Warning: this product causes headaches, suicide, death, asphyxiation. What? All these like side effects and shit that you don't hear in America land because like the lobby is of the government and these pharmaceutical companies, at least over there, right? They haven't lobbied the government, at least not yet. And then you get COVID, and now they have. They've lobbied us. They've lobbied our government. Our healthcare system is in ruin. With this like idea that like Russia is going to enter in and help out Iran against America or whatever to protect its best interest. It's just like, another reason why you use the Russian flag. It's just like, firewood. It's just garbage now. Like, there is no nationality. It's just it's always been like this too. It's like ever since I was a kid, it's like a nation of oppression. You hear about like the bad guys, the Russians. Oh, better beware of the Russians, the evil people, the bad people. And it's like it's not nice to say that about the things, and like, except when the government itself is, and like the vast majority of people are just helpless against it. You know, it's the way the world is. And even though the people of Iran deserve better, like they didn't just have no help, no hand in this. Like the Russians helped them, the Chinese helped them by selling them weapons, this and that. I don't know if China wants to get involved in this war. I really don't think it does. And I think the number one reason is if China enters this war, then that just gives South Korea and Japan a reason to strike at China, and then like all the resources, all the land, like it's up for grabs. All the people are just gonna start migrating out. Like the thing with China is that it's a powerful country, but it also has to maintain its power through control. And the second it loses control is the second it loses its power. And then, it's, one thing leads to another, and then we're dealing with like a zero-sum game. Like why did you even start it? I mean, America running the show was always something that they all fought against collectively. But to see like the desperation of so many nations now, Russia, China, other countries in the Middle East. I gotta follow up on Tal Oran. Go subscribe to Tal Oran. His video. And we also gotta talk about what happens to the losers now. Like what do they do now that they have nobody to cheer for? They have no cause for. Nobody wants to have wholesale terrorism as a de facto second possibility and like awakening, if you will, false awakening of the human race. It's more or less like it was more or less a pipe dream, like, on their part. Like nobody really wanted to embrace that shit. And then once you see how you treat your women, it's like, nah, man. Like you're gonna have a kid one day, and then if you have a girl, you're gonna be like, fuck, you're gonna have a heart attack. And you're like, why, dude? Why, of all places, that I have a girl that's gonna be here in this Islamic Republic, dude? Fuck, man. And like, yo, there are probably places that are like that, like, hyper religious, but also like, more or less fair to women. It's just that Iran isn't one of them. We all know that it isn't. Our prayers go out to them like all the time, and you hear about that shit. But like, you just don't want to have happen to anybody. But like, you have to understand that the people who did it, they're all around. They're spread all around. Their bloodline has exceeded its primitive boundary, and it wants to mutate, like in a way, like change its form from its wretched, obvious nature to like something more perverse. It's trying to rebrand. It's trying to come up with like a new meaning, a new modus operandi. Right? Like you can't have world domination. What's that? Maybe world subjection, or maybe world accelerationism, right? Where I was watching this Philion video about like, you know, um, Peter Thiel, this like, basically the AI antichrist guy. Well, so they say he is. And he talks about like all this like, crazy analytical computer sci-fi bullshit. And the long and short of it is he wants AI to basically replace people, not as like an innovation, but more or less like an inevitability that will cause the human race to evolve from there. It's like, oh, now that we have somebody that can like do this and that, and it's all like, manually controlled, and this and that is like, I'm not gonna get into specifics of it because I think like the most important thing about it is that, I know I'm getting off topic with this, but I watched like a Hidden America, like this other YouTuber that I'm subscribed to. I watched his channel about how the Kabbalah was like this cipher code, and like they're going over like, these weird things like the 72 names of God and stuff. And then I thought to myself like, where the fuck have I heard that before? And then I remember it's like, oh my god, the Muslims, dude. They're talking about the 72 virgins and shit. So wait, what does that mean? If one like, religion, right, the origin religion was talking about like the 72 names of God, then what are the 72 virgins that you would get in heaven as a jihadist? Like what is this reward? What is this kind of cult-like schism that these, you know, let's just be honest, these theocratic maniacs, like they are harboring, and they're trying to like enact upon us, and it's more like manifest destiny rather than a prophecy. Like they just try to force it upon you rather than it's something that would be naturally occurring. It's more likely that they're just playing their part. They're playing a role in a play that they want you to just, oh look, it's like this, the book of Revelations. It's like this, it's like that. And hey, I'm not trying to get like in on against anybody's religion and that, but I'm just trying to say that like when we're dealing with like these evil ass types of people around the world, demon worship, Baal, right? Yeah, look up that shit about like Baal worship in Iran. That was actually, it actually blew my mind because I was learning about it in like ancient Old Testament, like the worship of these like deities, and specifically Baal. There's like I think four other ones. And then like it was like, oh no, you guys have to like, destroy these temples and then worship the one true God in Jerusalem, with the temple built in Jerusalem and shit to venerate the one true God. And then like Baal always comes up with like these weird ass like, things that like, and here's the fucked up part is that Baal had these like celebrations that both the Jews and the Muslims partake in, like in secrecy. It's like this thing with the orgies, with like bloodletting, human sacrifices and feces, and then burning things in effigy. And I think like the last one is like antithetical to both of the faiths, their faiths, right? Because I said in the previous video, um, it is against their practice when it comes to burial to use fire or embalming, right? Like it's just against them. They see that as unclean, right? So like when they're doing their burial ceremonies, they have to, you know, do it in their way, basically, right? So I'm guessing like super fast and like they have the superstition of like how the body should be treated in death, this and that. So it's like an occult thing that they both share it, which is weird because you hear things about these Dubai boat cruise parties where these like supermodels are invited out and then like they don't even know why they're there, and then they're like they do these things that are unspeakable. They wipe the tears away. They keep their mouths shut and they never speak about it because it's like, fuck, why would you want to talk about shit like that? You were involved with it. People like threatening your life. They probably knew who you were, where you lived, who your family members were. And it's where like all these people lost. The Iranians were washing their money in the UAE, like getting their money from all these like fellow terrorist Muslim supporters and shit like that. The blood money. All gone now. All these people. All these like, enslavers. These people who are like, forcing women to basically wed them and like, act as their de facto concubine. Because at the end of the day, like we all have to an extent a little bit of in-group bias. But then when that's forced upon you to like a militaristic degree, and like, that's de facto slavery. And that's how the people were living in Iran. The women, not anymore. It's over. So long. So many years they lived as, you know, and now, for once, the Israelis, the Americans, they teamed up and they defeated Hassan's best friend. No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? Don't cry, Hassan. It's okay.